Welcome. I'm Rogers Anderson, and today we have the distinct pleasure of talking to an individual that most of you will know, Joy Davis. Thanks for being with us, Joy.
Thank you for the invitation.
Here in a few days, Joy Davis is going to be retiring. Joy Davis, who's put in a stellar career for the last 20 years here in Williamson County as our trustee. You made the decision early part of 2014, you're going to hang up your hat and spend more time with your wife and your family and do some things you wanted to do.
Yes, sir, I did. And you know, my good friend Morgan Reynolds never lets me forget that when I ran, I said I was going to run for one term. Here I still am.
Morgan has a way of reminding us
Right.
all, doesn't he? Joy, let's go back in time a little bit. You're kind of born and raised here. This show could be a dual role. We do two shows, many of the folks here know. We talk about current events and what's happening with their elected officials, appointed officials, and just general people that have something to do with county government or the school system. Then we have another show that we do that we kind of spotlight the people that have been born and raised here, and we call them silent heroes, all throughout Williamson County, that have made a difference in their lifetime, and your time and my time, and we're in our twilight part of our life, of why we've been here on earth. And we try to inventory these tapes for the next generations. And so let's go back a little bit. Let's do a combination of both. Where was Joy Davis raised, and how did we get to the day we're sitting in this chair and talking about your retirement?
Well, it's been a long road, but it's been a good road, and God has been infinitely great to me, probably better than I deserve. I was born August the 22nd, 1940, in the last house on the right on Battlefield Drive. And if you don't know where Battlefield Drive is, it's right across the street from the old BGA. Was not a hospital here in those days. And I was named after Dr. Walter Pyle. That's where the Walter came out of, and Joseph for my great-grandfather. Bobby and Jimmy Bradley, grandmother, delivered me. And that's been a day or two ago. I'll be 74 here next week. I graduated, went through the public school system here, Franklin Special School District, then to Franklin High School, graduated at the ripe age of 17 years old, and spur of the moment, joined the Navy. Thought I hated my mother, thought I hated my daddy, thought I hated Franklin. All I want to do is get away. And told someone they put me on that train in Union Station in Nashville. And before that train was Charlotte Avenue, Rogers, which is about 2 blocks. I was crying for my mother. I didn't know a boy could love his mother that much, but it was great for me. The Navy was a great experience. I met my wife while in the Navy. Had the pleasure of studying 2 foreign languages for an extensive period of time. Worked at the National Security Agency. Came home in 1968 from following a medical discharge with my knees, and went to work at the post office. Well, first went to work for J.C. Anderson Franklin Laundry. Worked a few months there till I got on the post office. Fortunate enough in the post office to get promoted. Fortunate enough in the post office to get promoted from Franklin to Nashville to a staff level, working for Andy Walker and Bob Wilfong. Mr. Runyon offered people of my age group, which was 52, an early retirement. I retired early and bought Toby's Chicken Kitchen in 1993 and ran for office in 1994. And as the story goes, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I'd be very remiss if I did not use this opportunity to thank the people of Williamson County for allowing me for 5 terms to serve them, because as you know, as elected officials, it is a pleasure to be able to serve those people out there. I call them the corporate stockholders of this corporation called Williamson County.
Joey, you've seen a lot of changes, and I don't want to downplay your career here as the trustee or the careers at the post office and your short stint of learning how to cook. I'm not sure you mastered that art without a few other people helping you, but it was an institution for a long time there on West Main.
A long time.
But you've seen a lot of changes in Franklin.
Oh, yes. Well, I really enjoy on Thursday mornings listening to Mr. Hardcastle and Mr. Alexander, and Mr. Hardcastle pays for that for promote his real estate business and realtor selling real estates, but it turns into a morning show of reminiscing about Franklin. And Franklin was a different community in those days, Rogers. I mean, downtown Franklin was about 2 blocks, and then you had some other little merchants in and out, but it just wasn't anything to it. My grandfather in the middle 40s still lived on the end of Battlefield Drive, and on Sunday nights we would congregate there, and we'd walk down Columbia Avenue to 4th Avenue Church of Christ, and when we walked back up the hill, my grandmother and the parents and all would go on to Battlefield Drive, and my grandfather would take the kids, and we'd walk down to Mr. Morton's, we call it Pokey Moton's, grocery store to buy a couple pounds of sliced bologna and rat trap cheese. And I'm 74, and most Sunday nights after church I still eat bologna and crackers and cheese. But it was a different, well, I'm 10 years or so older than you, or maybe more, but it was just a different time in Franklin. It was truly Mayberry.
Well, it was. And then about the mid-'80s, things began to change and happen here in Williamson County, as we said. You know, but for the people watching this, there was a period of time that Williamson County government was the institution. You had Franklin and Brentwood and the other cities around, but Spring Hill wasn't around in those days. Thompson Station wasn't around in those
Brentwood wasn't either, sir.
And Brentwood wasn't
Fairview
either.
wasn't a city.
You know, Franklin's your county seat of Williamson County. But over a period of time, and I still use the term, and I'm sure you've heard it too, coming in from Fairview, from the 1st District over to Franklin, we use the term New Highway 96.
That's right.
And people that are baby boomers still use that term that were raised around here.
Right. And it's ironic you say that. I worked at the post office, and sometimes I lived on old 96 West. I couldn't get my mail sometimes working there, and it's because we had so many 96s, 96 East, U96 West, old 96, and I named it Southall Road. But you know, Rogers, in those days when we would go to Fairview for a ball game, it was almost, we laughed and called it an overnight trip to go from Franklin to Fairview, because you went the old 96 back through the boondocks, and I still go to Fairview that way, by the way.
Well, you've got a wonderful family. I'm most familiar with your children. I've come to love and appreciate your grandchildren, which you truly do. There's a little difference in our sports teams and who we support and garner, and it's great fun for me to tease your grandchildren. Right. We've had the opportunity to travel a few games. We won't get into that, but overall, Vanderbilt, the team you've supported over these years, certainly the last 2 to 4 years, has just made a marked improvement, as opposed to the team that I support. It's kind of gone the other way, but we'll leave it at that, and I'll admit that. But let's talk a little bit about your 20 years here in county government. You go back to 1994, you're probably going to have to define some of these terms, and these are things that you and I deal with every single day, that we determine the values and how we set the tax rate. You don't set the tax rate, the county commission sets the tax rate, but you collect the money as a trustee of this county.
Well, I found out right away when I went into office. I really didn't understand everything trustee did, sir, when I came in. And most people do not understand what the trustee's office does. The trustee's office has the potential, simply by doing their jobs to the best of their ability, to have a positive impact on the tax rate we all pay, sir. When I came in, they used somewhere close to about 280 work hours a week to collect on about 42,000 parcels. And a parcel is just a piece of land, where a parcel might be 300 acres, it might be a third of an acre. It is the number of pieces of property that we collect taxes on. There was some 42,000 they used for bookkeeping and for collecting taxes, somewhere between 240 and 280 work hours a week. Today, in 2013, we collected on some 87,000, Mike could fudge and call it 87,000 parcels, and we used less work hours per week to keep the books and collect taxes than we did in 1994, sir. Although we do use more work hours, but that has been driven by property tax relief, where we use, in 1994 we used a half a person doing that. Now we use two and about 2/3 work hour persons. I hate to say persons, but we're talking about work hours for me. I still deal in work hours. our county's just changed so much, Rogers, since 1994. When I came into office, the tax aggregate, that's the sum of the taxes that I'm given the tax roll to collect. That was about $54 million in '94. In 2013, we collected taxes on $210 million. Now, you said the other night in my office that during my tenure we'd never had a write-up, and that's correct, we have not. But I would be remiss, sir, if I did not say that's because of the staff I have. And I have a very quality staff, and they do their job to the utmost, and I would sit here and brag to you, sir, because you and your manager of budget and accounting are dependent on this money. We're standing right now on the 2013 tax roll of 98.6% through this morning of having that $210 million collected. I heard you talking at the county commission about the appraised value and assessed value. Those numbers are just phenomenal.
Well, and one of my favorite stories over the last year or so that I've told, Williamson County was incorporated in 1799. And so from 1799 to 2003, over 200 years, and we could use your time that you entered if we want to go to 1994, but I've been using the number to 2003. We had a value somewhere around over 200 years that grew to the size of almost $8 billion worth of assessed value, appraised value, excuse me. Today, that number in 2014 is in excess of $30 billion. That's a billion. Now, the way we become at that number, so we don't put people to sleep that are watching this show, you take your home, if it's a $400,000 home, and our average values of homes are in the 300, but if you have a $400,000 home, divide it by 25% or 4, that's 100,000, and we would set the tax rate on that home in the unincorporated area or the incorporated area. Is a little adjustment for cities, but it's at $2.31 a hundred. And so when you think about going from almost a zero number to where we're at today of $8.9 billion worth of values that's been assessed, that's double just in the last 10 years, Joey.
Right. And to put it in perspective where maybe help the folks, the same act of the legislature in 1790 brought Williamson County and the city of Franklin into being, the same act. I went to work at the post office in 1969, 1970, and we had about 7 rural routes and 5 city routes. Today, now remember, go back to Roger's analogy here of this 200 years, there's about almost 60 rural routes coming out of Franklin, Tennessee, and 10 or 15 city routes. It took us, like you say, to the mid-'80s before this population exploded. At the post office when we worked there, when Mr. and Mrs. Pratt sold their farm out there to CBL, is that who bought CBL Associates, they got some $7 or $8 million, and it was the buzz around the county. Man, can you believe that they got that much money for that? And today, if you go out there and you and I want to go in business and we want to buy a half acre in the mall there, we're going to cough up somewhere close to $1 million for that.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal.
Well, and the challenge will be in the next 20 years, let's use that, unbelievable traffic, unbelievable issues dealing with transportation. The cities and the counties try to stay abreast of that, but you can't build the roads. You can't bring in the infrastructure fast enough to serve the needs. And there is some pushback, I mean, through the planning stages, through your cities and through your counties, trying to identify how you're going to have water, how you're going to have sewer, how we're going to deal with the roads. But in spite of that, the growth continues to come. And if you really sit back and look at the different things that you could just put a bellwether on, it's our schools, Joey.
Absolutely. Plus our quality of life here. It's just different. We're still, even though we've grown somehow, and I don't know I don't think you can give any one person credit. we still have that small town atmosphere, Rogers. You and I, of course, we're out in public life. Very seldom I go to a restaurant I don't know at least some people there to say hello to. Had lunch yesterday with my prior boss, Mr. Andy Walker, at a local restaurant, and I spoke to 4 or 5 people walking out the door.
Yeah. It's amazing, and the challenge will be how do we continue doing that? And there's the anti-growth, there's the pro-growth, but at the end of the day, for this town and this county and our cities to flourish and continue, and you're not going to stop it. It's coming, and it's a matter of trying to control it and curb it in such a way and craft it in such a way that communities like where you live out in South Hall and where I live over in Whitehall, it's kind of interesting, both of them are named Halls. But it's that we can get from point A to point B. But when you look back a few years ago, we're fortunate in that today there are plenty of jobs for our children and grandchildren. They can finish their education, go on to school, finish up a trade school, whatever hits their fancy, and they can come back here and live and work and raise their family in great quality schools, and that's a real credit to a lot of people, and certainly you, being the banker, keeping up with the money is one of those things. I certainly don't want to downplay your role in any way, but your job, along with my job, is always indicative of the people that you've got surrounded you.
Absolutely. You have to hire people infinitely or eminently smarter than you, and I'm making a talk next week somewhere, and I used that, and then all of a sudden it dawned on me, that's not much of a compliment to my staff. I'm like you. I'm surrounded by some great people in the trustee's office, and I would like to, for the listeners, if you have questions about the trustee's office, give us a call. But the trustee's office, every penny that comes into county government, we get that money either by the money itself or a deposit ticket. Everything in the county comes through the trustee's office. It's a very complex office. We fund every account in the budget. You all set the budget through the budget process, and we get to collect that. And I would say, I hate to keep using the word remiss, but the county commission has done, through your leadership and the budget committee's leadership, such a great job of this $2.31 per $100 of assessed value. We have one of the lowest tax rates of any of the growth counties around. And we have money. We don't have to borrow money every August and September before tax dollars roll in to operate. I have fellow trustees that they go out every year in July and August and borrow money for the county to operate on.
Yeah, to make payroll. Joey, you've committed a lot of your time, your personal time, not only to your family and your church, but you've given a lot to the Lions Club. You've given a lot to Mercy Clinic. There's just so many programs that you've tied your finger to. Williamson County Fair, you were there on day one. We certainly hope that you're going to continue that role. We may make you fair chairman. It's real easy to do.
I have my sincere doubts on that, sir.
But some of these programs you've seen mushroom over the years that serve such a worthwhile need, and we have such a giving and philanthropy type of community.
There is so much need in our community, and sometimes people think we're affluent. There are so many people that need help in our county. I have been fortunate. I work for a lot of nonprofits. I've been proud to work for them. And I guess one of the Mercy, Grace Health Care, Dr. Richard Anderson asked me to serve on that board and wound up being chairperson of that board. And we folded that effort into Mercy. And if I had to look back and say one of the things I'm most proud of is to be a part of that, because now they are a year into adult care. We have people who cannot afford it, can go, adults. Mercy has had children care, as you know, for a lot of years, but now an adult can go get care, can get taken care of in our county.
If you were to pinpoint some of the benchmark things involved, I know it's hard to put you on the spot. It's kind of we hate to use this word, Tom Lawrence curveball, but there's some benchmarks that have come along in your life. it's not always been rosy.
No, sir, it's not. My office, where my personal office in the trustee's office suite, my dad, we started taking down pictures and stuff and cleaning my office because our local maintenance here is going to start freshening that office up a little bit for our trustee-elect Karen Parris, and so I take everything down. And I told them yesterday when the ladies were helping me take pictures and things down, for me when I went in, my dad was in that room for a long time and didn't know if he was going to make it. And then our youngest son was in the first room on the right with a major battle when he was a young man with problems. But all in all, God's been very good to me. I lost my mother to a tragic accident, and my dad died of health reasons. But we've been able to go on. My two oldest sons were born when we were in Morocco. Our youngest son was born in Maryland, but now all three of our sons live within just moments of us, and we get to have our grandchildren every Friday night. In fact, one of them, Cody, showed up last night they don't have the SEC channel, so we watched the SEC channel last night with the 14 schools, and it was very interesting. But yes, Rogers, I am, not to be redundant, God has been so good to me, sir, been very good to me.
As you look out in the future, you're going to continue to be active and involved. You just won't be making those daily trips currently in that blue truck down to 1320 West Main.
No, sir. I don't really know what I'm going to do. Sheriff Long has asked me if I might be interested in doing an administrative. Don't fear, folks. I'm not going to have a gun. I'm not Barney Fife, a gun in my bullet, to do an administrative job for him. And we're still talking about that. I do want to be active in some of the senior citizens centers to make sure they're okay. I really don't know what I'm going to do. I will do something, though. I'm not going to sit at home.
Well, your truck will be missed, and I will miss you. You're one of the few people that beats me to the office almost on a everyday basis. You've been here most every morning between 6:15 and 6:30. Now, you may not stay around long. You may get your coffee, get the doors open, and the ladies begin to come in, and you're out the door going to some other event. But the last 20 years or 12 years of my life, you're one of the few people that beat me in the door.
Well, I have always been a morning person. I grew up here in a morning person, a rural community. We did not live on a farm. I worked on a farm, and I'm still, and I did not know how many people noticed my blue truck. Reese Smith, when they asked me, where have you been? Your truck wasn't at work. And other people say they see me at work early. I do. I can get here as early as need be, but somewhere around 3:30, 3:45, 4:30, I'm ready to go home.
Joey, we've got about 5 minutes left on the show. There's so many things that I could continue to talk to you about, but I do want to speak on behalf of, I think, you didn't get every single vote every time, neither do any of us, but I think generally speaking, over the years, whether it's been a contested race or a non-contested race, the thing that you can feel very secure about is that people believed and trusted in you. They didn't always like your decision, no more than they're going to like mine. There are times that you have to tell people no, or we can't do that. But overall, I think the people in Williamson County and your recognition across the state and your involvement in being trustee of the year, being involved in the state level of programs and on the national levels, serves due notice to Karen. She's got her work cut out for her. Yeah. Now, we don't expect her to jump in and take over, but she's been your chief deputy, and she is very qualified to get in that role, and we look forward to working with her. But you're going to be missed, Joey.
Thank you.
And
I shall miss being here.
And the people in this community have found not only an excellent worker and a trustee, but they found a friend. Even though you're born and raised here, most of your generation has been surpassed with the move-ins, just like mine. And you've managed to keep that smile on your face and run a very professional office in which people could rely on your answer. Well, got about 3 minutes left, but I know I want you to talk about the Senior Relief Program, which is near and dear to your heart.
I would say, Rogers, that throughout the years, the seniors in Williamson County have been if we have to have a group of supporters, that's my supporters, because I believe in helping them, the low-income seniors. A man in the office yesterday told me he didn't think that seniors should have to pay taxes. Well, I disagree with that. Every time, you and I know that for every person we take out of the tax roll, someone has to make that money. We just don't lose that money. Someone makes it up. So we have to be careful of that. But we do have some senior programs. The state has a program. They're all income level driven. We want people to come in. If you even think you might qualify, we encourage you to call. Let us tell you the numbers. Let us give you the stuff. Come in, make an appointment, call and make an appointment, and let us help you with it. We want to.
I think it's important for people to realize that we have 3 distinct programs here in Williamson County for some form of tax relief. And that tax relief, oftentimes there's it's a Tennessee program all across the state. It's if you live in Knox County or Williamson County, you're eligible based on income.
Right, and the state sets that income level.
And the state sets that income. Then we have 2 others, and one is very unique to Williamson County.
Very unique. We're the only county that has it. And then there's the property tax freeze. But it's conceivable, and a lot of people do. You could be on all 3 programs plus. We call it 4 programs because on the state of Tennessee program, whatever a recipient receives from the state of Tennessee, we in Williamson County government, we the people of Williamson County, we match that dollar for dollar up to the taxes. So there's really 4 that we're running.
And even on the tax relief program, we don't touch on that much because we don't raise taxes here very much.
Right.
But it's there. It's got a cornerstone of the operation that we do here in Williamson County, that if you're over 65 years of age, again, it's on an income basis. But if you're over 65, I've got 1 minute. I got to wrap this up. I said it was on income. It's not. It's 65.
Right. Got to be 65 and meet the income guidelines.
That's correct. And wow, what a unique program that we've got here. Now, again, that's not free. Everyone else has to pay for it.
Right. I want to plug Lisa Jackson and Melanie Glenn and Tracy Carner are the people that deal with. We want to help you get on property tax relief if you qualify.
Telephone number.
790-5709, 790-5709. I will give you my cell phone, 330-5200, 330-5200.
Speaking of that, you're going to turn that number in September 1?
No, sir. Leslie has already helped me with the paperwork to keep my cell phone number. I want to personally thank you for your support and you directing and helping our office to get what we need, not what we want, but what we need to operate.
I'll never give what you want. I'm Rogers Anderson. We got to leave. Joey Davis.
Thank you.
Friend, wonderful person. We'll miss you. Have a good day. We'll see you around with someone else as we go down that pike here in Williamson County.
On narrow roads like this, cyclists should leave at least 2 car lengths in between riders. That way the cars have room to get in between the cyclists and pass them individually. If the lane is too narrow, or if the cyclists are traveling pretty much the same speed as traffic, then the cyclists have the right to come out and take the lane. Stay safe and have fun. And most of all,
enjoy the ride.